are singing, skies are blue. The world's awake, it's time for you. Start it right, you know it's true. Anson in the morning.
That's a theme song that I absolutely love. I don't know why I love that theme song. Jacob wrote that and produced it, and man, I'm so happy. But it's my favorite thing. It actually wakes me up when it's time for Anson in the morning. Speaking of, it's morning. I'm Anson. Welcome to Anson in the morning. It's a show where you kind of just gotta sit and listen to me rant. And right now, I'm kind of going over parts of my life so that you guys kind of know who I am, what I'm about, where I come from. Later on, we're going to get into the deeper stuff. Not today. Not today. Not for a couple of weeks. I'd really like to keep it just more about me and you and figuring out who Anson is. So that way, when I give you my honest opinions about things, you know that I'm not coming from some jackhole place. Do you know what I mean? I'm actually me. And that's all I'm going to be with you guys here while I'm doing Ants in the mornings. I'm just going to be me. It's just straight up. But time to get to the day's events. So here's what's going on with me. I had to take my kids to the dentist this morning. So last night you're thinking I'm doing my big show on conspiracy theories, and I really get into it like I promised you guys last week. But like the father I am, I have the kids to get there to go to the dentist that morning. That's why we're a half hour late starting Ants in the morning. And I was sitting there last night thinking, okay, to get them notes for school. I got to make sure I call the teachers, let them know that they're going to be late today because they've got appointments. And all of a sudden, man, this flood of memories and whatever you want to call it, like this, it was this huge wash over me of all things that I used to deal with when I was going to school. And then it struck me like a ton of let's do today's show about going to school. So I'm going to walk you through my whole school life. And I don't know why, and I don't know if you care or not, but you're going to hear what it's like when Spicy grew up going through from kindergarten all the way through high school. I'm hoping to be able to fill an hour with this. I don't think I should have a problem. But if not, then we'll carry this into a part two next week because this is all of Spicy's or Anson. Sorry, I go by Spicy for the Fat and Spicy show on PNS Studios, but this is all of Anson's school stuff. So let's start at the beginning. My parents had a good amount of money. They were tailors. They owned a clothing factory and didn't do too bad. So they were able to send me to some of the finest private schools around. But unfortunately, in that day and age, private school meant Christian school or Catholic school. It was a religious school. It wasn't just a private university or institution away from the public school system. They were mostly, if not all, religion based. So that's how I grew up, was in these religious schools where you always had religion just kind of pumped into you. And when you're in school, you're trying to please your teachers, you're trying to please your parents. So, you're focused, you're doing what you're supposed to do. But growing up from kindergarten through high school in a religious environment, people wonder why I'm an atheist. Spicy, why are you an atheist? Let me tell you why. So if you guys are going to sit around and be patient with me, we're going to run through my entire life of my entire life school career, as I guess what we'll call it. So I went to kindergarten and preschool at a place called Providence Montessori. Now, a Montessori school, they're kind of cool. They let you do what you want. But again, it was kindergarten and preschool. So what are you going to do? But they really want you to explore things on your own. So they have a classroom full of things, and instead of like a teacher sitting there and teaching you stuff, you just do what you want. The only rule was at these Montessori schools is if you started something, you had to finish it. And for me, that was kind of tough. I always had a problem with that. Nowadays, I'm a little bit more disciplined, but back in the day, it was hard to keep going, and to put your stuff away. And I remember my teacher, she'd cry to my parents, I don't know why he doesn't put his stuff away. I do remember my kindergarten and preschool teacher, though. It was Miss Lucille. She was from Ethiopia, and she wore the sarong and whatever else, the traditional Indian stuff. And then her teacher's assistant was Miss Sarah. Miss Sarah was an older lady, but she was my favorite. I loved Miss Sarah. She was very kind and patient, and that's what I took away from my school days of kindergarten and preschool. It was so long ago, it's kind of hard to remember. But let's go to first grade. First grade was another Montessori school. Now at this point, I would be what, 5, 6? So we're talking 1981, 82 or so. Again, the years elude me, but the grades don't. But I remember in the first grade, I went to this Montessori school. And one of the things that stuck out with me about that school was we had a piano teacher, a music teacher, and he wheeled his big old standing piano into our classroom. And he would, on the piano, he'd play Beat It by Michael Jackson. And this guy taught us how to sing the lyrics to Beat It in first grade. It was kind of cool. First grade was again, it was a Montessori school, so you kind of experimented, did what you want. We had gardens, we had pets, paper projects, a sandbox in the classroom. I mean, it was a different kind of school, and I don't know that I like the Montessori system for kids that are older. I get it when you're young. When you're in kindergarten and first grade, yeah, go do what you want as long as you learn the basics of finishing your work and respecting your other students, blah blah blah. But when it comes to higher grades, you need a formal education. You need people to sit down and say, in 1942, this happened, in 1776, this. You need to learn the history. And I'm not sure that Montessori schools were the best way to learn that. But as a kid in first, second, or kindergarten through preschool through first grade, it did just fine. So no problems, right? Eased right through school, kindergarten, preschool through first grade. Second grade, I go to live with my grandma. Now, my parents had their whatevers going on, and we're not going to get into that today because that's not what today is all about. But I went to go live with my grandmother, and my older cousin Timothy lived with my grandmother, and my younger cousin Mikey lived with my grandmother, Mike, but Mikey back in the day. Um, Whatever happened to Mikey, I don't know. Timothy had went on to a beautiful Air Force career and then retired from that to work in the private sector. This is the guy I talked about last week who was like a big brother to me growing up. He bought me my Star Wars toys. He told me, look, I'm even wearing my Star Wars shirt. I mean, I love it. Um, he told me all about the Jedi and just a good brother figure growing up. So we lived with them, and I went to this place called the Christian Center of Salem. We had a program called the PACE program, PACE, um, Progressive Accelerated Christian Education. So what these were notebooks. These were workbooks, little magazine looking, about the size of a what do you call it? Uh Sports Illustrated, right? Not the swimsuit issue, those are thicker. But the regular. And you would have, your day's work, and as you progress through your classes, you got different paces. So if you finish this one, you turn it in, you get another one a little bit harder. This one, so you kind of go at your own pace, almost a Montessori school. If I wasn't up to the level of, second grade math, they would move me to, grade 1 math in the paces until I moved up. Now, the thing with the paces is once you filled these little things out at your desk, and like I said, there was no teacher telling you, okay, over here is the Constitution, and over here's this, and this is this, and this is no, we didn't have any of that. What we had was these workbooks, and you just sat there and you taught yourself. It was lazy. It felt lazy to me. If you had you had two flags. You had the American flag and the state flag. If you had a question about your work, you put up the American flag. If you needed to use the bathroom or something else, you put up the state flag. And the teachers would come around and answer your flags and they'd answer your questions. But it wasn't really like formal teaching except for the Bible classes. Those were always sit around and we're going to talk about Jesus. And every once in a while, we'd like, I think that was the first time in second grade there that the teacher read James and the Giant Peach. And that's when I first got a Roald Dahl, introduction. Um, and we loved that. And that was okay. The other problem is that you had to grade your own paces, and we're going to get to that later because grading your own paces got me in trouble in high school. Yes, there was a pace system in this high school I went to. We're going to talk about that awful shit. But in the meantime, let's keep on track. Christian Center in Salem was a progressive church. It was a Pentecostal church. So you had the people on Sundays like grandma speaking in tongues and dancing around and jumping up and down on the Bible. And it's like I never understood it, but they celebrated their faith. And I thought that was kind of cool. So slowly as I'm growing up, I'm getting indoctrinated into this PTL. Do you guys remember PTL? The Praise the Lord Network on cable back in the 80s. Jim Baker and Tammy Faye had it. Tammy Faye Baker was like a big, caricature of life, but it was a Christian network. And grandma, she would give thousands of dollars to this Christian network. This is the Christian network that told you don't let your kids watch the Smurfs because the Smurfs are little evil beings that feed on children and build their houses out of their deceased corpses. That's why they're mushrooms, because they grow out of deceased corpses of little children that the Smurfs killed. I don't know. They were actually the ones that I'm not kidding you. The pastor painted Gargamel as a savior. He's like, he's a monk. He wears monk's robes. He's out to stop these evils. And it gives you pause for thought because the way that these guys talk in these schools, they're really convincing. And you really start thinking, oh shit, are these guys right? Especially in the second grade, you don't know any different. And grandma's a Christian, daddy's a Christian. Everybody I know around me loves God. So I guess I love God too. And grandma, we're getting off topic, but it still goes to the second grade and how this whole Pentecostal school system worked. Excuse me, I'm gonna light one up. Was everything was over exaggerated. If I wanted a transformer, grandma would have to go ask the pastor of our church, Pastor Cornwall. God, where'd that name come from? That came out of nowhere. If it was okay if she bought me and my cousin Transformers because she didn't want it to be a slight against God. Okay. In our school paces, there were little comic strips about how to praise God properly. You shouldn't be a thief. And, you know, it's cool when you're a kid, but later on in school, we're going to talk about my high school career. There's no place for that when you're growing up in high school. So anyway, we did the pace system. We'd fill out these paces. We'd grade ourselves. Teacher would give us a test. We'd get the next pace. Seems worthless to me, but so is all of school, right? Oh, second grade though. Here's the thing. For some reason, under the pace system, I excelled because it was so easy. Answer the things, go up to the thing, fill out your answers, give it to the teacher, take the test, you move on. Second grade honor roll. Second grade principals list was like the higher honor roll, and you got like prizes like a McDonald's Happy Meal for lunch one day or some shit. But that's what we did. My teacher in the second grade, I wish I remembered her name. I cannot remember it for the life of me. Amazing teacher. She was supportive with every student. I remember that she would take time out of her day to give every single student a perfect amount of attention so that they all, even me, so that we all felt like we were wanted and accepted and doing our thing. But then I go to the third grade at this fucking school. Now remember, I'm living with grandma at the time and my cousins, so they're all going here. I think my cousin at this time is a junior or senior in high school, Timothy. My little cousin's a year under me. Okay. And we get our teacher in the third grade, Mrs. Kessler. I will never forget this bitch's name because from the day one that I walked in that school, she looked at me and it's something about the way my jib was cut that she did not like. Not at all. He made me an example of how not to be a student from day one. When here last year, I'm on principal's list and honor roll and all this shit. And I don't know if she hold it against me or what, but I remember one day we were sitting in the this isn't even something I wrote down. This is a memory that just popped in my head. We're all sitting in the lunchroom cafeteria, and grandma would pack me and my cousin a lunch every day. And I'm a hungry guy. I'm not a fat guy, but I'm a bigger guy, and I'm hungry. So at lunchtime, I usually eat all my lunch, but today I couldn't eat like the last three pretzels in the bag, like little pretzel sticks. I couldn't eat them. So I threw them away. This bitch ran over to the garbage can after seeing me do this, pulled the three pretzels out, sat them in front of me out of the garbage, and made me eat them. It's like, your grandmother works very hard to pack you guys a lunch, and you can't disrespect her by not eating your food. I ate all of my food, but I will never forget those three pretzel sticks. And I sat there in that classroom bawling my eyes out that I'd eat garbage pretzels in front of the whole school. And I'll tell you what, she didn't win any points with the students because they all hated her for that. They hated her for that. That was like, they're like, how could you do that to Anson? And he's not like that. He's a good kid. He loves his grandma. He never had a mom. He treasures his grandmother. They know this about me. And yet this bitch sat there and watched me eat those three pretzels out of the garbage while I'm crying. I couldn't understand it. And there was a part of me, like later on during the day, we're doing Bible verses and oh, Jesus fed the 5,000 and he loved all the little children. And I'm like, well, if he loves me, then why am I getting punished? What did I do wrong? I couldn't finish my lunch. I'm full. So you make me cry and eat garbage pretzels that have been not in the bag, but they're in the garbage. Like she pulled out each individual pretzel stick from the garbage and laid them in front of me. So praise Jesus, right? That's how I felt about that. Now, about halfway through my third year, thank God, my parents worked out their whatevers and I moved back to Portland. Now I go to St. Clair Catholic School. Now, this is my first real Catholic school. Aside from the Providence Montessori schools back in kindergarten and preschool, I don't really count that because while we were taught about God, it wasn't like indoctrinated into us. So in the third grade, I go to St. Clair. We had a couple of teachers there that made impressions on me. A lot of students that were kind of assholes, because at third grade, you're kind of coming into your sentience as a child. Does that make sense? Like you're learning what it means to be either a good kid, a nerd, a bully, whatever you're going to be. That's about the time that you start growing into that. And we had a couple. And boy, they wouldn't let up on me. They would not let up on me. But we had this kid in third grade, Fred Miles. Fred, I'm sorry to call you out, buddy. I'm not calling you out. I'm giving you your props. Sorry to mention your name. If we have to bleep it, let me know. I'll bleep it. But this kid stood up for me. And these are private school kids here. So in a land of rich kids, and even myself, this kid who wasn't of great means came up and defended me and befriended me. And we became fast friends. Like we spent a lot of time together. We'd sit and we'd just talk about nothing, about everything. It was beautiful. And that was that. Like he'll come into the story later. So we became friends. I got my first real friend in school, which was him. And I'll never forget the reading assignment of the year for that class was The Trumpet of the Swan by E.B. White. Now, books come into play here because these books that I read kind of shaped me as a child. You're reading Judy Blume and what's the other one? Beverly Cleary. And as a child, these things that you read have effect on you. So I started reading Trumpet of the Swan by E.B. White. Read that with the class, and then I read it again because it was just so good. And then Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. I had to know what that was about. I read that. Now, in fourth grade, we watched the cartoon, but to me, that was when I realized the books are never as good as the movies. Or I'm sorry, the movies are never as good as the books because I remember the book was amazing, and I was waiting for all the shit that happened in Charlotte's Web, the book, to happen in the movie that never happened. So anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself in fourth grade. Let's go back to third grade. Third grade was when the Challenger space shuttle exploded. And it was a big deal for us to watch that in our classroom because our teacher was so excited that another teacher was going up into space. Like, oh my God, we have a teacher for the first time as an astronaut on the space shuttle. Everybody's going to watch this. We're wheeling you remember the stands, the four-wheel stands with the VCR under it, the TV on top, the big tube TV? She wheeled that into our classroom and we all watched the Challenger go up. And then we watched it explode. And I don't know in third grade if you really truly understand what happened. If you can process that all at once. But one thing you can process is when you see your third grade teacher who, these teachers to us as kids are bigger than life. They're these authority figures. They know everything. They're our teachers. Break down in tears. She cried so hard, bawled her eyes out in front of us, and then excused herself, and we had a substitute. Or I think we screwed off for I don't remember what it was. We did something for the rest of the day, but it wasn't classes. And I felt bad for her. And I felt bad for us because I think I felt bad for us because we didn't really understand what she was going through. But we tried as students. We saw the explode. We understand the thing blew up. But in third grade, are you really prepared to understand the gravity of losing a life, especially one that you see on TV that's happening in, you know, Cape Canaveral, all the way across the country? It was hard for us to process. Later on in life we learned, but that was my biggest takeaway of the third grade was St. Clair and dealing with that. Um, I made a few more friends. Mark was the first black kid that I made a friend with, because I go to these public schools or these I'm sorry, these private schools, and unfortunately the demographic was mostly white, and it just was. It's the fact. Parents worked for the IRS or had great jobs doing this or great jobs doing that. So they all put their kids into these schools. I met this kid named Mark, African American kid, black kid. I don't know what you guys want me to call it. Amazing guy. Love this kid. Came to my birthday party at Oaks Park. Or Oaks Park was an amusement park. I talked about this last week with the bingo for my birthday. Him and Roger. Roger was another good guy. I liked Roger a lot. So Roger and Mark and me were like this little group. We do a lot of shit together. We'd get into trouble, this and this and that. So that was my third grade life. It was nothing too spectacular, but that's when I started really making friends, like people that I would know later on in life. Um, but for whatever reason, I don't know the reason because I was a pretty good kid there. I got pulled out of that school. Hmm, I know what it was. It was homework. I'm not a homework guy. I put in my 8 hours at my job today. I don't want to come home and do the job too, right? So why give me fucking homework and make my life miserable, my parents' life miserable, the teacher's life miserable? Everybody's life is miserable because I'm not doing my fucking homework. Well, my kids don't have homework and they're the happiest kids in the world. I don't have to fucking come home every day from work and be like, "Did you guys do your homework?" They don't have homework. They go to work from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. And in that time, they get all their work done, just like me. When I worked at the restaurant, I didn't bring home pots and pans from the restaurant to scrub when I came home. When my shift was over, it was fucking over. But no, these teachers thought homework was you had to do it. And it caused such a rift between me and my parents. You're embarrassing me because you didn't do your homework, and I'm embarrassed in front of these teachers. So what the fuck are you going to do about it? What am I going to do about it? I don't want to do fucking homework. When I'm home, I want to enjoy myself. I want to be comfortable at home. I want to feel safe and secure, not anxious all the time because I didn't do a fucking book report. Quit with the fucking homework. Oh. So at the end of that third grade, I guess it was me not doing my homework. They moved me to another school. This was what was the name of this school? I got it written down here. Fourth grade, West Hills Christian. Mrs. Marcia. I wish I remembered her last name, but her first name was Marcia. She was one of the best teachers I ever had. And I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. This is straight up. Third grade, I'm sorry, fourth grade, uh, was when I made friends that I still talk to today. A couple of them. And I also learned a division in class. By that I mean we were all going to a private school, yes, but some kids' parents had more money than others, and there was a division of class. So I remember Chris, this guy Chris, and his sister Chrissy. Their parents were uber wealthy, and nobody in that school could be their friend because they were just too rich, and they felt above each other, or above everybody else. It was sad, and we all saw it. I'm like, my dad's got money. We've got cars and a house and big screen TVs and all the shit that makes us wealthy. I'm going to a private school. I'm wearing the best clothes. Why aren't I on this guy's level? And that's when you kind of learned about the I'm just all I'm trying to do is explain to you guys all the things that I learned going through school. So this is what I learned in fourth grade. You can be well to do and have means, but if you don't keep up with the richer kids, then you're kind of left out of things. And that's where I was. I was left out of things. I was left out a lot. But I was also raised in a gay household. My parents were gay. So going to these Christian schools, I always had to hide it. My dad and my uncle, not my dad and my daddy. And I think that most of these people knew. I really do. Um, I think that most people chose to ignore it. But when you have a principal who won't let it go, you know, we're just kind of we're kind of stuck. We're kind of stymied at where we can go in that. There's not much further you can advance in your school education if the teachers and the principals don't want you there because of what your parents do. and whose fucking business is it anyway? I had a good childhood. My parents made money. I came to school in the best clothes. I had the good lunches. So what the fuck do they care if my parents are gay or not? I'm taken care of. I'm growing. I'm a healthy boy. I'm happy for the most part. I'm going to acting classes. I'm going to karate. I'm doing all this stuff. Like they're active in my extracurricular activities after school. Why do you need to judge what they do when the doors are closed? Go fuck yourself. And that, my friends, fourth, fifth grade was when things kind of started to shift for me. I saw the writing on the wall when it came to how Christians were with gay people. Didn't like it at all because I didn't know any different. Sorry, let me get some coffee. I didn't know any different, man. I don't know what a gay guy is versus a straight guy versus having a mom versus having a dad versus having parents. I don't know. All I know is that I have two guys that love me, that raise me right, that give me a home, a warm bed, plenty of food, good clothes, pets, toys, all the toys I wanted. You know, so to me it was normal. And these guys want to judge me based on what my parents do and hate me for it. For that, we go to fifth grade. We're going to talk about Lisa Fromotter, and I'm calling you out, bitch. I don't care if you're listening to this or not. You can go suck a dick. All right. So Lisa Fromotter was one of those. I go to church Mondays and Sundays during the day and Wednesdays at night for Bible studies. I host this. I do this. We have Bible meetings in my room. Everything is so perfect, but my husband cheats on me because I'm a bitch. Yeah, that happened. So we heard kind of, through the whatevers. And let me get to this bitch. I'll never forget. It was about halfway through my fifth grade school year. I'm coming to school, just, got my backpack on. I'm like, what's today going to bring? Who knows? I don't even get to the classroom before this broad grabs me by the arm and throws me into the teacher's lounge. And I mean, throws me. She grabbed me hard. She threw me into the teacher's lounge. What the fuck did I do? She's like, where's my grade book? She literally grabbed me. Where's my grade book? Like, your grade book? It's my grade book. Where is it? At your house? In your desk? In your at school? I don't know. Because you stole it. I know you did. So what have I done in my past aside from be the son of gay parents that makes me evil? That I was the culprit that stole this book. She shook me down for fucking 45 minutes trying to get me to confess before she brought anybody else into that room. Now, this is this is the late 80s. You do this to a kid today, the teacher's getting sued, school's getting sued, the school district's getting sued, everybody's getting sued. But no, it was okay because it was a private fucking school and they could do whatever we want because we signed a waiver. Hell, I even got spanked at that school. That's the next story. Hang on. So this bitch grabs me and throws me into her fucking teacher's lounge, and she starts going through my backpack. Just ripped it right open, shuffling through it. Where's my grade book? I don't know. I swear to you guys, again, you know, sometimes I like to tell stories where I embellish the story a little bit because I want you to feel what I feel. I wanted you to feel the excitement or the desire or the dread that I felt. This time, I'm just being straight out with you guys. I was terrified. I was literally scared. And this is exactly what she did. She ripped open my book. She grabbed me by the shirt. Where's my grade book? I went home and I cried to my parents about it. I'm like, I don't know. My parents had my back. Like, yeah, there's no grade book here. My parents were the kind of parents that actually searched my room to make sure I wasn't doing naughty shit. No grade book. Later on, towards the end of the year, she told another parent that she found her grade book, but didn't tell us because she still wanted to keep her thumb on me and be a little cunt. So that's what I had to deal with in the fifth grade. And that's when I realized, oh shit, Christian people are awful. These people don't care. They just they just go on about their fucking lives doing whatever the stupid shit they want to do in Jesus' name. Now, if I'm riling feathers for talking political, I'm so fucking sorry. But this is what I felt when I grew up in a Christian school. Let's move on. If I talk any more about that bitch, I'm going to get more upset. And I don't want to do that because this is Anson in the morning. It's Anson in the morning. And we're going to be kind of whatever here. All right. Fourth, yeah, let's just jump ahead past Lisa because I can't do that. So let's go to sixth grade. Sixth grade, I go to the school, St. John Fisher. Now, this is my middle school, sixth grade through eighth grade. These were the students that I still remember to this day, the classes and the teachers that I still remember to this day, and the three most impactful years of my life as a young man. So let's start with sixth grade at St. John Fisher. I show up to this school, new. There's a bunch of kids. We had Mrs. Gant, Miss Gant. She got married. Miss Gant, my first crush, sixth grade. The first time a boy's like hearts in the eyes, like the fucking anime movies and shit. Oh, I love that chick. And she was a great teacher. She was patient. She was kind. She didn't mind answering questions, even about religious stuff. If you had questions about religion, she'd come right to your age. She'd be like, "Hey, I got the answer for you." And they weren't always Christian answers, which I respected. Because now at this age, I'm starting to grow up and realize, oh, I need some answers. I need some real answers, not just talking points from the Bible. And I loved her for it. I also made some really good friends in the sixth grade. That's where I met Fred, Casey, Daniel, John. We were kind of like the nerdy kids, the not popular guys, but we were popular amongst ourselves. And the one thing that we had that these guys didn't was we were thick as thieves. These guys could backstab the other classers, backstab each other and talk shit, not us. We had each other's backs. We would walk at lunchtime and just talk about our lives, not superficial shit. Or we're good at basketball, so we're friends like the other guys were. Oh, you're good at basketball. I'm good at basketball too. Let's be besties and beat up on the stupid kids. Now I know I sound like a bitter fucking nerd who bitter. Yeah, I am. Fuck you guys. Fuck you guys. We're all humans. And guess what? The three guys I just mentioned, four guys, Fred, Casey, Daniel, John, the most real people I've ever met. Honest, true with their feelings, not trying to keep up with the Joneses, but being who they are. And that was the lesson that I got from them. Sixth, seventh, and eighth grade was fuck the guys that don't want to be your friends. There's people out there that will be your friend. You will always have friends. You'll have friends as long as you're as genuine as you want to be. And that was the lesson I learned. That was the first time I admitted to a friend of mine. I told my buddy Fred that I had gay parents because I'm so tired of holding it in that by sixth grade it had to come out. And I told him in fear that he would be like, God hates that shit. You know what he said? He goes, we know. My parents know. Of course we know. And we were still friends. I'm like, finally, the yoke has been lifted off of this child having to lie about my parents' situation. I can finally be free. I can be free with him, nobody else, because that rumor got around school, and we'll go on with that later because there's more to that when I go to high school. That followed me through high school. We'll talk about that in a minute. We had bullies: Jason, Jeremy, Brandon, Liam, John. Not my friend John, the other John. And what do? You deal with it, you move on. We were all in the basketball team together. So why they were bullies when we're supposed to be a team, I never understood. I remember one night we're standing around outside after practice, just talking. And this kid, Brendan, our team captain, for no reason, while we're talking, he's like, "You're not doing your job out there on the court." And I'm like, "Well, what do I need you to do better? I need to learn these plays, but you guys won't teach me the plays." And he took the basketball and he fucking just shot it right at my face, hit me right in the nose. We're all waiting for our parents. I'm in the sixth grade. This thing fucking hurt. I start to cry. I don't know if that tear like awoke the conscience of this kid, but he put his hand on me on my shoulder. He said, "I'm sorry. Let's go learn these plays." And so he did. He taught me the plays. He taught me basketball. He taught me enough about basketball that I could coach my daughter's team. Um, we still weren't friendly, but I think he understood that the act of violence against me was detrimental to me, and he truly felt bad. Now, I can't say that I was a saint because I wasn't. I had my downfalls, as a kid. We had this kid named Casey, and Casey had a full head of hair. And for some reason, it wasn't me, but these kids called him Chia Pet because, you add water, it grows. Chia. So his name was Chia to the kid. That was his nickname in 6th grade. I don't know why, but it wasn't even in an effort to be cool. I wasn't trying to prove anything to any of the other students because nobody knew I did it. But I remember that in our art room, we had these big white jugs of paint. And I took this jug of paint and I poured it into his backpack in our locker room. So we had the classroom, and then there was a wall, and then behind that wall was where everybody hung up their coats and their backpacks. I went out and I put a fucking bag of goddamn or a jug of goddamn paint in this kid's backpack. Blue paint. It was everywhere. I guarantee you, if you go to that school today, there's still a blue fucking stain on that floor 40 years later because of what I did. And I never admitted it. They knew I did it, but I never admitted it. Um, and I always felt I don't know why I did it. Like I ask my kids these days, why did you do that? Whatever they did. I don't know. Well, the first time my kid told me I don't know why I did that, I got upset. I'm like, yeah. You do know why you did that. But then I start thinking about this today, like when I'm talking about this to you. Why did I pour the paint in that kid's backpack? Why would I do that? I don't know. Your brain has an impulse, you act on it. In 6th grade, you don't have a reason function in your brain. What are you, 11? Maybe 12? You don't fucking know. So I did it. Years later, I admitted to him that I did it. And he was like, why did you do that? My answer was, I don't know. I don't know. We're stupid kids. So these are just some of my 6th grade memories. Let's move on to 7th grade. So I graduate from 6th grade, still at St. John Fisher, 7th grade, Mr. Lippy's class. Mr. Lippy was the guy that gave me my love of science, my love of astronomy, anatomy, physical sciences, all of it. Um, he was a brilliant man. He shouldn't have been teaching at a high school. He should have been teaching at a college. And he didn't hate me. Just like in 6th grade, Mrs. Gant didn't hate me. He didn't hate me. And I felt encouraged to learn. And when you have teachers that look at you and say, you have potential, if you just simmer down and focus on A, B, and C, don't worry about D, E, and F. We got you. Just A, B, and C, man. And that's what he did. And from there, I grew. And like I said, I learned physics. I learned science. I learned all the stuff that I love today because of that man. He's a brilliant man, great guy. Mr. Lippy, I said, you too. I remember one day, mind you, I went to a Catholic school and 7th grade, you're starting to get a little horned up. We're kids. Remember one of those girls going up to the classroom or up to the chalkboard and she dropped the eraser, the eraser for the chalkboard. She bent over to get it. And you get a peek of the white undies. What did I know? All of a sudden, my little thingy is standing at attention in the 7th grade. I'm sitting behind my desk like, nobody call on me. Just like in every fucking thing, they call on me. I had to go up to the blackboard. Well, I said, Mr. Lippy, I've got a cramp in my leg. I really don't want to go up. And he looked at me and he gave me this nod like, I know. It was the slightest little nod. He's like, don't worry about it. Let's call Daniel up. Daniel, come up to the board. And I loved that man because I really felt like he had my back, which he did. Um, he also made recommendations for me to get into a high school that I wanted to get into because it was hard to get into that school, kind of. I don't know why, but it was. But he wrote me the recommendation to get me in, so I was very proud. I learned a couple of years ago that Mr. Lippy passed away. But as far as the most influential teachers that you'll ever have in your life, that was the man. That was Mr. Lippy was the guy. 7th grade, probably the most influential teacher I had in my life. I looked up to him as a man. I looked up to him as an educator. I looked up to him as a scientist. And I just looked up to him as a good person. Like he treated us like adults. He was like, look, you guys gotta have science class at fucking 11:30 in the afternoon or in the morning. Do you guys want to bring a bottle of water or have a little bag of snacks or something? Go for it. As long as it's not an issue. And I was like, we're being treated like adults. Not adults, but given some autonomy, and that meant a lot. That man was brilliant. I loved Mr. Lippy. 8th grade, still same school, St. John Fisher. Catherine Funk, Mrs. Funk was our teacher. Funk. You heard me right. She was a nun. It's like Sister Mary Catherine, whatever. I don't know what the fuck her name was, her Catholic name or nun name, but she was a nun and she taught us. And she didn't wear the habit and stuff. Like she wasn't in uniform, but she just wore regular clothes. Her specialty was teaching English. We used to have to dissect sentences. You guys ever have to do that? You have a sentence, you got to put a line to the noun, to the verb, to the adjective, to the adverb, all the way down. I hated it. She loved it. Well, in the back of our classroom, on the back wall, she had all the rules for doing this work, like how to dissect a sentence perfectly, how to diagram a sentence is what it was called. I'm sorry. And I'm sitting there looking at we had calculators in the 8th grade, and I'm looking at my calculator, the reflection, getting all the answers, and I sat there and I did it, all of it, just wrote it down, got a straight A's on that test. And she's like, "You're going to be an English major. I don't know how nobody else in this class has ever gotten 100%." And I was like, "Oh," I didn't tell her I cheated, but somebody else did. So it came out later, and she started that. This was within the first couple weeks of school. She really started that disdain for me because she found out that I cheated on this English test. So her and I never really got along. It was a fight. She was one of those teachers, like I said, my kids don't do homework, and she was like the homework Nazi. I hate to use the word on YouTube or whatever we're streaming on, but she was. And it was so detrimental because she would write down my assignments in a notebook. Then I'd have to do them, and then my dad would have to sign off, and then she'd have to sign off. Do you know the stress that does to a kid in the 8th grade, having to have a parent and a teacher sign off on your homework every night to make sure it gets done? I'm so glad my kids don't have that stress in their life. Now, a little after school structure is fine. That's why when my kids come home, they have chores to do before they play, but not homework. Not something that's going to affect their grades that I can get upset about or challenge them about. Hey, why did you get a B in this fucking class or whatever? Because my kids are straight A students without homework. So what the fuck? Why do we need it? It's torture. I hate homework. I think homework is the worst thing you can do to a kid. Like I said. Anyway, we're gonna. I just fall off in this homework thing because it shows up so many times in my school career, and it's really what turned me off against education was when you're done with your day of work, you got to go home and work more. You can't be free. You can't be comfortable at home. You're all wound up. You're trying to get this shit done before your parents get mad at you. I don't want that, and I don't want that for my kids. So fuck homework, guys. I'm just telling you straight up. All right, let's go to the 8th grade. No, we're in the 8th grade. Miss Funk. There's not much more to talk about. For me, my biggest stress in the 8th grade was the homework thing, and she was so adamant on it that she would call Mr. Ratola. Anson didn't turn in his math class today, so guaranteed I'm getting the shit slapped out of me when I get home. Not to mention I feel like an asshole in class because everybody knows I didn't do the work. Plus, she treats me like a cocksucker. Plus, my principal knows about all this shit, so I'm a shithead through the school because I just don't want to do classwork. Is that so fucking wrong? Not classwork, homework. I do the classwork. I did great classwork, but I didn't want to do the homework, so I'm a cocksucker for it. I'm a shit student. I'm a troubled student. I'm a problem child that had to be monitored daily. Well, what if you abolish the homework shit? Okay. So it was right the summer of between 8th grade and high school. And I get into this high school in Portland called Central Catholic High School. Cool. Before that, we have a summer. It's one of the few summers that I'm allowed to stay home and not go work with my parents. And this kid, Fred, has a VHS tape. And he loans me said VHS tape. And said VHS tape is the first time that I ever saw one naked man and one naked chick doing it. Well, there were 3 movies on there. I can remember the names of those movies. Debbie Does Them All, Who Came in the Back Door, and Street Heat. These were 3 cornerstones of my childhood. It was the first time. So Fred got me my first porno. And I would like to say that that was the day that I became a man. No, that's just when I learned that porn isn't love. You could see it in their faces. It was hot because I'm a kid and I'm like, oh, look, I'm doing nasty things to each other. Inside, you know, there's no love here. But and again, what do I know? I'm in the fucking eighth grade. Okay, so let's go talk about high school. Um, freshman, the freshman in high school, Central Catholic High School, speech and literature are my two greatest classes. I love to debate. I did a beautiful long 2 hour. I talked about this last week. My report on this the paranormal. Like I was part of the drama class. We had a Central Catholic was the first place I went that actually had a whole building that was just a theater, like a a sound booth up there, behind scene or backstage, all the grips and dollies and everything, and the stage that rotated, the whole thing. It was a beautiful, beautiful stage, and I loved acting on it. I was part of one play, Mighty Man and the Zombie Curse. But it was beautiful, and I excelled at that school. But I had a bully. His name was Eric. Big guy, not tall, but big, wide. Like this kid could squash you with a foot. And Eric scared the shit out of me, and he tormented me on a daily basis. So one day, I bring a little knife to school. It's because I was afraid this kid was going to just terrorize me. And I'm a freshman. What am I, 13? I don't know any difference. I'm thinking I'm a big badass because I'm carrying a little knife on me. So I'm out in the school courtyard waiting for Eric to come with me again. And I'm playing with this knife, and this is after school. I cut my finger bad. And I go to the nurse's office, and she wraps me up. And it wasn't until she's finishing wrapping up my finger that the dean of students comes out, Mr. Welter. God, I can't remember. I'm remembering these. They're all coming back to me now. I was trying to remember them last night to write them down. I couldn't remember shit. I can remember them all right now. So Mr. Welter came out, and he saw my finger. And he saw me. He saw me playing with the knife out of his office. I didn't know that. So he takes the knife and he brings me into the office, and I get expelled. Maybe a month left of the school year, I get expelled. Cool. So I go, I do my thing. I'm at home for the rest of the summer. Next year, they send me to this new school called, oh, by the way, freshman year at Central Catholic, we had the cheerleaders with the outfits. You want to talk about being corrupted by these videotapes? We had stairs that went down, and we'd all stand at the base. All the boys would stand at the base of the stairs while the cheerleaders went up from the gym and just glance up. We were pervs, but we were freshmen. What are you going to do? We don't know any different. We're a bunch of little boys. We're not even close to being men yet. We think we are. We're 5 years away from being 18. We're nothing. Like I said, we're boys. We're children looking up girls' dresses as they go up the stairs. What are you going to do? So sophomore year, I go to I go to West Side Christian. It's a brand new school, just built. It's got that new school smell, lockers, the whole new. It was so modern. It was so neat and unique. Not bad for what, 1993, 92 to 93, I guess. Um, Good school. And I met a couple of friends. Oops. And I met a couple of friends that I knew back in the day, um, from the other schools, because it was a tight knit Christian school community, So you go to West Hills Christian, you're going to go to West Side Christian. It just happens. You go to one school, you're going to go to the high school. You just all the kids go together. But I see all these kids that I knew in the fourth grade, and I was like, "Oh, it's Chris, it's David, it's Daniel, it's all these guys. Holy shit, I'm back!" But I had been gone out of the group for so long that I got left behind. I was ostracized. I was by myself. So what do? I'm a theater nerd. I hang out with the theater kids. I hang out with the musicians, Joel and Thomas, and we just become our own little thing, And he Joel would play guitar in the cafeteria, and I'd sing the tunes, and that's what we'd do back when I had a voice before I fucked it all up. Um, and it was great because that was the first I started writing poetry as a sophomore in high school. These guys awakened the artistry in me. Now, yes, I'd been a child actor and done modeling, but to me, it was going through the motions. There was no feeling behind it. When I met these group of kids as a sophomore in high school, they really showed me what it was to be artistic, to allow emotion to express, or I'm sorry, to allow music to express emotion. And it touched me deeply. To this day, music and poetry are two things that I cherish as the cornerstones of who I am now. And thanks to those kids. But they were also theater kids and musicians, which means, maybe smoke a little weed every now and then. And I'll never forget, I was in a was it history? It was history class, and one kid asks me to hand another kid a bag. Like he's sitting on one side of me, the kid's sitting on the other. This is just a little bag, a little paper bag. He's like, "Hey, give this to Chuck." I don't remember the kid's name. So I give it to him. And all the teacher saw, of course, was me. He didn't see me get the bag from the other kid, but he saw me hand it to this kid. And in the middle of his lecture, I hit it. I passed it slowly, but he saw it. He grabs his bag, opens it up, and there's one little bud of marijuana. I swear the thing's like that big, but it's still marijuana, and we're sophomores in high school. Well, do you think the other kid who gave it to me to give to the other kid got in trouble? No, I get in trouble. So here I am. My parents are getting called. They're searching my locker looking for more narcotics, thinking every Anson is selling narcotics. You know what I'm saying? It's just no. I was framed for that one. I don't know if I was set up or what. It was just a bad time. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Did the wrong shit. So for that, I get expelled from this Christian school and I get shipped off to Lake Oswego public school. Now, Lake Oswego public school wasn't a bad school. It was just I went to Christian schools for so long that I'm kind of indoctrinated into that way. I don't really know what it's like to not be in a Christian school, not pray, to not have Christians around. I didn't know. So I thought like, but this time I'm also questioning my faith. So I'm like, oh, is this a place where I can flourish and maybe not have to worry about faith and just focus on me and growing? No, it was worse. I couldn't handle public school. I went there for a semester before I begged my parents to take me out. I just couldn't do it. These kids were awful kids, like no discipline, no respect for. If you were in a classroom when I was, say, a freshman, or I'm sorry, in the eighth grade, and you told the teacher, "Hey, I don't like the way you're fucking teaching us," we get a hand across the mouth, we get whatever. These teachers had no control over these public schools, and I'm like, I need to go back to a private school, right? What the fuck? What am I thinking? But I like the structure. I get why some people can get institutionalized. When you have so many rules and restrictions, it's hard to live without them. So, junior year, my parents send me to a school called Southwest Christian High School. No, Southwest Christian High School will forever be the school that determined who I would be growing up, and mostly because of one man, and that's Frank. Frank's my buddy. I'll never forget. I was this weird kid. They asked me, and that summer, the summer before that, so from my sophomore to junior year, I had worked at a radio station as an intern. And so I come into this school full of rich kids, and they're like, "Oh, tell us about yourself." My name's Anson. Um, I came from Lake Oswego High School, and over the summer, I worked at a radio station. Oh, what did you do at the radio station? I was a programmer I'm sorry, I was a producer and a DJ. Oh, well, for some reason that I thought that would make me cool, right? You're like, yeah, this guy worked in radio. He's not even in fucking senior in high school, and he's a DJ, which I was. That's no lie, no bullshit. I was running shows for Christian stations back then. No, it ostracized me more. Like they really didn't want to have anything to do with me. Like, who the fuck is this guy? They left me alone, except for Frank. I don't know if it was the first day of school or the second day, but it was within the first week. This guy walks up and he goes, "Hey, I'm Frank. Who are you?" It had to be the first day. Like I'm Anson. We shook hands. That was it. It was electric. Frank and I play video games to this day. I'm 48 years old. I think I've gone through my life knowing Frank more than I've not known him. You know what I mean? We've been, as Jay and Silent Bob say, he's my hetero life mate. I've been friends with this kid my whole life since I was a junior in high school. And that was the most important thing I got out of those 2 years of school, junior and senior year, was my friendship with that man. And to this day, like I said, he supports everything I do. My kids call him uncle. My wife considers him a brother to the family. You know what I mean? Like he's a part of me that I can never let go. And I love you. If you're listening, bud, I love you, dude. I love your dad. His dad. I'll never forget. Uh, Probably sophomore year, I had a little crush on Frank's sister, 1 year younger, Katie. No, not Katie, Bryn. And I called and I was like, "Hey, Tell Bryn that I'm calling. I was talking to Frank on the phone. Tell Bryn I'm calling. Tell her it's the one with the cute butt, me. She said I had a cute butt. Um, and that's when this booming voice comes over the phone. Anson, if you ever talk like that to my family again, I'll pound your head into your ass. It was Frank's dad. Now, as scared as I was back then, that's become a running joke because as much as Frank's dad was a very serious person, I always knew he loved me. I knew that that comment was said out of love. A couple of years later, there was some whatever's going on in my life, which we're going to talk about that in a couple of weeks. And it was Frank's dad who took me in, stepped up, and gave me some support, gave me some money, and helped me out for a little bit while I was trying to get back on my feet. And for that, I'm always grateful. And I'll just say it to the Leonetti family, who knew me from nothing else than being a friend of the kid, Frank. Even Frank's mom considers me a son, and I love her to death. I consider them close family. And it's amazing. I guess that's the point of this is you can go through school as we're wrapping up time here, right? You can go through school and you can deal with all the bullshit from the teachers and the other kids, but when you find that one friend, and really that's all you need, one. You just need one guy that'll pick up the phone when you call him, one guy that will text you when shit's going wrong with him, one guy that wants to play Hell Divers. We're 48 years old, and we're like, hey, spend an hour playing some fucking games. Somebody that can take you away from life or listen to you bitch. I think that's what school's all about. You can go through the drama club and speech and have problems with the teachers and not do your homework, and lunches suck. I know. And doing book reports in front of the class is goddamn bullshit. But when you find that one friend, that one person that will stick by you through thick and thin, makes it all worth it. It really does. And on that note, guys, this has been Anson in the Morning. Just talking about my high school career or my regular school career and what it's been like to me to grow up. You got it from kindergarten to high school, baby. Oh, real quick, I gotta mention this. I had a teacher. I don't know if he's alive or not, but I'm gonna call you out right now. Sam Narrow. Mr. Narrow, I got a bone to pick with you. I remember I got in trouble one day because me and my buddy Frank, the man I just talked about and almost got weepy about, had Game Gears, Sega Game Gear, the first color handheld, console. And Frank goes, I got Mortal Kombat for Game Gear. I said, no shit. And we're in the foyer of our school, like the lobby of our high school, waiting to go to class. And oh, Miss Bushy, that was her name, Mrs. Bushy, grabbed me by the arm. And I looked at her. I was like, I'm sorry. And she goes, I'm sorry too. And she threw me in the principal. Again, what is it with teachers throwing me around? She threw me into a chair into the principal's office. You wait for Mr. Narrow. And I did. Now, Mr. Narrow, I think, was a little bit, and he was Christian, but I think he was a little bit more worldly. Because when he walked into the office, he's like, "What happened?" And I told him. He goes, "Go to class, tell him I yelled at you." What? That was kind of cool. I didn't know that could happen. He didn't have time for that shit. He knew that we were kids and the words are words, right? But then I wouldn't do my homework, and I was kind of a shit kid in class because I was really rebelling. Like, okay, so here's what happened. They would give you the pace work, right? So this school, the junior and senior year, had those paces I was telling you about, the accelerated Christian education programs. So you'd have the workbook, then you go up and you'd answer. You have the answer key. You'd score your own work and turn it into the teacher. Well, I fucking stole one of those answer keys. I went home and I did like fucking 3 paces full of work. Well, they realized the answer key was missing. They searched my bag. They found it. I told them I was sorry. And then, I kind of turned myself around that year, sophomore or junior year, and actually got honor roll. Senior year, I didn't give a shit. I was ready to be out of school. I was working. I had a job at Blockbuster. I had a part-time job at KFXX Radio. I was an engineer, already a junior producer for a major talk show, Steve Arena's show. So what the fuck do I need school for? My parents got money. We're doing great. So I fucked off my senior year and they really hated me. But I'll never forget, Mr. Narrow grabbed me by the arm one day and took me into his office. And he goes, Anson, I've dealt with some really shitty kids. And I'll never forget this one kid. I took him up to the top of a building and I said, you're a worthless sack of shit. You might as well jump. Go ahead and jump. And here I am, like, you talking to kids like this? And he said, that kid broke down and cried in front of me. And I gave him a second chance. And he became one of the greatest students I ever had. Now, Anson, I'm asking you to do the same thing. I don't want you to jump, but I want you to understand what I'm telling you. You can turn your life around. couple years later, I'm walking back. I'm watching TV, watching a movie, and I see the movie Lean on Me with Morgan Freeman. I said, jump. You ain't no goddamn used to know, but jump. I don't want to jump. You better jump. I'm like, that was the fucking line. This poser tells me he's trying to correct me by using a line from a movie that I see. Like, you don't think I'm going to see this movie later and understand that you're a piece of shit? Anyway, I'm not going to get off on it, but I guess the whole lesson I'm trying to teach with this, or just not even a lesson, is that we all go through everybody's school, whether you're popular or not popular, a nerd, you get locked in your locker, or you like to read, or you like Star Trek too much, or you're a football player, the quarterback of the team banging the cheerleader. Everybody's high school or school career was traumatic, but it makes us who we are. And if you're lucky, you get that one treasure out of it. And I did. That was my buddy Frank. Dude, if you're listening, I love you, homie. Hit me up. Let's play some games soon. Anyway, guys, my time is up. This has been Anson in the Morning. Make sure you check us out on YouTube. We've got a lot of content. It's at the PNS Studio. It's right down there. See, at the PNS Studio. You can go to YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. What I don't even know. Grinder. I don't do that. I don't know what other social media apps they're out there, but our producers have got us all set up. So, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for just sitting here while I rabble on about my school days. But I did. I took you through preschool to high school, and that's the shit that I had to deal with. So until next week, guys, I love you. This has been Anson in the Morning, and I'll see you next.